Our first session is called Laying the Cornerstones. So we are following, our conference today is broken out into three sections: build it, own it, rule it, and we're starting with build it. So laying the cornerstones is you're going to get your first chance to participate in the chat as we do this. So Kelly, as I just mentioned, every FEMPIRE begins with intention, no matter where you are in your journey. And this session will help everyone define their professional vision, identify core strengths, and create a framework that supports growth at every stage of your career, guiding to what's next and beyond. So, Sandy, our first chat prompt should be going into the chat now. And we're trying to keep true to the requests of either one word or just say yes or no, and then you can elaborate later, but it's easier for us to see the answers if they're just in one word. So Kelly, we talk a lot about building a fempire, but this is really where it starts, with understanding who you are, what drives you, what you want to create, whether you're just starting out or you've been leading for years. And it's about taking stock in what grounds you and what is worth building. So talk about that.
Me personally, I think I was very reactive for a really long time in my career, meaning it was you graduated from college, you got a job, and then it was just job, job, job for me, right? I don't, it's almost like I have a little bit of regret around this because I watch younger people today, some of the people that I mentor, some of the people that I've worked with recently, young people that are either still in college or they're early on in their careers, and they know where they want to work, what kinds of roles they want to be in, what vertical markets they're interested in, and what their ultimate career trajectory is, right? Like a 22-year-old going, I want to be a CFO by the time I'm 40. And so to me, this is centered around intention. And as you said, goal setting. You have been instrumental for me personally in the realm of manifestation. And again, it centers the language that you used in that intention setting of it's very sturdy. This is you, right? It isn't someone else telling you, oh, you should, right? Raise your hand in this world if you have sat through how many times somebody else told you what you should do, right? So I also think there's something a little bit generational in this for me personally, which is, the idea that being self-centered was wrong, right? That as women, it's tricky for me because I feel like, again, if we're talking about me personally, I think I was very reactive for a really long time in my career, meaning it was you graduated from college, you got a job, and then it was just job, job, job for me, right? I don't, it's almost like I have a little bit of regret around this because I watch younger people today, some of the people that I mentor, some of the people that I've worked with recently, young people that are either still in college or they're early on in their careers, and they know where they want to work, what kinds of roles they want to be in, what vertical markets they're interested in, and what their ultimate career trajectory is, right? Like a 22-year-old going, I want to be a CFO by the time I'm 40. And so to me, this is centered around intention. And as you said, goal setting. You have been instrumental for me personally in the realm of manifestation. And again, it centers the language that you used in that intention setting of it's very sturdy. This is you, right? It isn't someone else telling you, oh, you should, right? Raise your hand in this world if you have sat through how many times somebody else told you what you should do, right? So I also think there's something a little bit generational in this for me personally, which is, the idea that being self-centered was wrong, right? That as women, we were supposed to center ourselves somewhere else. And so, what I really hope everybody takes from this today is that everything about your life, your work, your future, your legacy is centered around you and your skills and your abilities and your dreams and all of it. So Deborah and I kind of joke about how we balance each other out because I'm a little more woo woo. I'm a little bit more in my feelings. But that strategic and tactical center that Deborah and Girls Who Print Global gives us all is about power, influence, strength, all while all while lending a hand, reaching out, pulling up, pulling over, right? All of that too. So it's a very, very timely conversation. And it is the work of everything that we're going to do going forward here.
Yes. So, the first part of building a foundation is defining your vision. Setting a vision is more than setting goals, it's creating a direction that's personal and flexible enough to evolve as you grow. That's one of my hardest things is, trying to, navigate this is how it is but, you know, understanding that it's not that way anymore and what can you do to change that. So we have a chat prompt coming up now. If Sandy can drop that in, which is one word, what do you want your career to stand for? So, Kelly, how do you begin to define what success looks for you rather than what others expect?
As I was preparing for this, here are some of the notes that I wrote down. This is all about authenticity, right? And really even also understanding what is the difference between honesty and authenticity. Because to me, those are the most important things. I am done with toxic positivity. I'm done pretending, right? I'm done smiling and going, oh, that was fine what you just said. Or, oh, you passed me over for a promotion again. It's fine. It's fine. Right. So there's honesty, which is telling the truth. And then there's authenticity, which is, am I acting and speaking in a way that reflects my values, my beliefs, and what I stand for? And that requires bravery, right? The fearlessness of speaking truth to power, for one thing, for calling something out in an injustice way. Like, excuse me, you just interrupted Deborah. Can we let her finish her thought? Right? It's modeling that kind of sturdiness because everybody's watching, right? The young people in the room are watching. It is everything that we talk about in the programming that we provide here is to recognize those microaggressions, recognize all of those ways that things are still not fair, right? And we've talked about these statistics before. A woman will only apply for a job if she's 100% qualified for it, where a man will apply for a job where he's 20% qualified. But again, trying to circle this back, that flexibility is incredibly important because it is about receiving new information and making decisions based on what you know to be true in that moment.
Yeah.
And focused. Go ahead.
No, I'm just, we're going to put another prompt into the chat now. What does success mean to you right now? And your vision should feel like a compass, not a cage. It keeps you moving in the right direction, even when things change. The next step is identifying your core strengths. So the cornerstones of your FEMPIRE are the strengths that carry you, the skills, the values, the instincts that make you uniquely effective. And so for the chat, for one word, what do you consider your strongest professional trait? So, Kelly, how can professionals uncover the strengths that they may take for granted or overlook?
To me, one of the superpowers of I mean, there are a lot of people in the world who possess this, but to me, I center everything around empathy, which is to ask myself the question, I wonder what it's like, because that also can direct me kind of down a path of what skills, what talents, all of those kinds of things. But a lot of stuff that I've read recently talks about how women leaders are extraordinary leaders because they lead with empathy. And you mentioned earlier about the idea of the diversity of voices, building teams, being intentional about making sure that there are multiple voices to be heard in any room where any decisions are being made as you're trying to carry your business into the future, as you're trying to future proof your business, it is to make sure that we are taking care of people. That translates into how we take care of our customers, how we take care of our vendors, how we take care of our teams. But I'd also love to hear your thoughts on this too.
I it's difficult because we did a Fierce Fabulous Friday this year where we had people uh in the chat telling us the craziest things they've been told, like don't smile, you smile too much, you're oh, you look so nice today, so I actually think that a professional strength is learning how to navigate that by taking the power back. And so that's what I would say, that you know that is a strength that's undercover, especially if you can be clever as you're doing it. So we always say things like, well, Deborah will take the notes, and being able to push back on that in a strategic way and say, actually, you know what? I took the notes last week. Jerry, why don't you take the notes? And then see what the reaction is in the room. And it is a nice, calm way to say, don't tell me to take the notes. I'm not here to take your notes for you. So I think that learning how to navigate those things is a strength that people might take for granted if they can push back in a way that they don't get called a bitch. I mean, let's just be honest about it, right?
Right.
But they're like, "Oh, she's right. She does always take the notes. Why is that? I didn't even realize I was always asking her." And that is how you get people to recognize themselves, that there is something that, could be addressed in their own behavior. So, if we could put the next prompt in, what's a strength? Oh, Sandy is on it. What's a
Mm.
strength you want to build upon this year? So, confidence grows when you understand your foundation, the things you already do well that can scale with your ambitions. And then the next step in building your foundation is making sure that it is sturdy enough and big enough so that you can grow, and it can grow with you while your career is moving on, while your skills are increasing. So once your vision and strengths are clear, the next step is the structure, the framework. Think about building a house. First, you lay the cement foundation, and then you start moving upward with a strong framework. If you don't have a strong framework, the second floor is going to be on the first floor. Not a good situation for anyone watching TV on that couch. So, it supports your goals, and it gives you direction for your growth. For the chat, Sandy, what helps you stay focused on your goals? So let's talk about building support around yourself, Kelly. Mentors, peers, advocates who strengthen your structure.
The word for me is accountability, right? So to involve other people in my strategic vision, right? If and doing the work that we've been doing and working with you and working with a lot of the women here in this group, I think it's incredibly important to understand the difference between strategy and tactics, right? So if you think of strategy as like longer ranging, those big, hairy, audacious goals, right? We all know that if you want to go far, go to get, or I'm going to mess up that thing, but all I'm saying
If
is
you if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
thank you. Involving other people in your dream, in your plan, in your goal will hold you accountable. And for those of us that are challenging one another, how are you going to do that? What next thing are you going to do? We have had some amazing programs with Sarah Ohannison to help us to break up those big, hairy, audacious goals into small, digestible chunks that we can do, right? So, yeah, to me, this is all about. There's also an idea of acting as if it's already happening, right? In a world of intention is to say this is where I want to be, and I can actually see myself there. I can imagine what it's going to feel like, what it's going to look like, and then kind of reverse engineer it. Okay, what needs to happen tomorrow? What needs to happen next week, next month. That's what strategy is. Planning, taking steps, involving other people, to me, is the only way that I'm going to get where I want to go in the long term.
Let's focus for a second on the role that feedback plays in shaping and refining strengths. I do like feedback. I do like feedback. I like constructive feedback. I like when people push me to think differently. You've mentioned challenge, and in the beginning of the year, for my own intention, I set a challenge for myself that instead of being around an echo chamber of people who are always like, great idea, and there's plenty of those people around, and I don't think that it's not a great idea because I think I have pretty good ideas, but I want to be around people saying, okay, what if you couldn't do that, what would you do? If you had to, if this couldn't happen, what would you do then? Or why does it have to be this way? Why can't it be that way? And that's one of the reasons why this year I changed the structure of Girls Who Print Day, because I wanted to do something different that pushed us out of our comfort zone. And so with the chat prompts going in, I wanted to make it more interactive. So feedback does matter especially when we understand that Girls Who Print is in a unique situation because a lot of times women don't have anywhere else to talk about what's going on in their world. They might have very empathetic and sympathetic partners, but at home, but if they don't work in the printing industry, I mean, you could only empathize with a baker who has to get up at 4 o'clock in the morning every day, but you're not doing it, so you don't know what that feels like or anything like that. So sometimes people don't know what it feels like to be dismissed or feels like to be passed over for a promotion, or what it feels like that everybody else in the office is getting the big accounts but me. And then you might start taking that on as it's something what's wrong with me? Instead of saying, I want it, therefore I'm going to get it. And feedback is part of that, especially if you want to get ahead in the environment that you're currently in. You almost have to play those games.
It can be difficult to know what feedback to act on and take in and what to dismiss or put to the side, right? Because I would always be looking at who's giving the feedback, what's their motivation, do they have an ulterior motive? And so it really is, again, centered around this community that we're building. Is we want to be the kinds of people that other people can trust, so that it is the place they come when they want advice or strategy or tactics or some kind of guidance in any way, shape, or form. But I want to recenter this back around ourselves, which is, it's great to take feedback, but you still have to trust your own gut. And if you're the kind of person that isn't real sturdy on trusting your own gut, there's some work to be done there, right? Around the assertiveness, this language that we talk about all the time. But you said something really important, which is, it is a good time, and I will be doing this forever now, to question everything. Why a 40-hour work week? Why do the kids get the summers off, right? Like, why 3 meals a day? I'm questioning everything now, which is changing the way I'm showing up every day. It's changing how I make decisions. It's changing things that I just accepted as like, it's just the way it's always been, and going, no, I'm going to do it differently, right? And this is imperative as we start to work with younger people, because they've been raised in a way to they're gonna question everything, right? I'm parenting them right now, so I can tell you this for certain. There is no like, oh, okay. It's constant pushback, and that pushback is going to be very healthy and hard, right? Two
Yeah.
things can be true at the same time.
No, absolutely. And as we mentioned, every ascent starts with a strong foundation. When you take the time to define your vision, you understand your strengths, and design a structure that supports your growth, you create stability for everything that comes next. Think about standing on a stool that's a little wonky, right? Sometimes you need support. You need somebody to hold that stool or hold that ladder. But when it's sturdy on the ground, you can do whatever you need to do. And you do not have to worry about it falling over or you getting hurt or you sliding down the ladder, because it is stability. So what is one step that you can all take to strengthen your career foundation? And so, Kelly, what is one step you're going to take to? And by the way, let me just say this last thing. A career foundation doesn't mean that you're an entry level person. It means that you might be wanting to learn a skill. That is the foundation that you start from there and you build upon. How am I going to learn this new skill? You might want to go after a different job in a different company. That becomes the foundation. How do I build what I need to get myself in that interview, in that position, in that dealing with those customers? Kel?
And to me, this is all about community, right? This is all about building and kind of taking it to a new level, right? I want to surround myself with people who understand me and know me, care about me, right? This is 100% my work life, but it's my whole life, right? And these things do tend to bleed into one another, right? I have met so many people in the printing industry who now are dear friends. And when you know that there are people that have your back, when you know that there are people who will pick you up when you fall, who will celebrate you when something good happens to you, because this is not a zero sum game, right? My success does not take away from Deborah, and Deborah's success does not take away from me. We can both have it because everything expands, right? So again, being a part of a community also means that I understand I have a tremendous responsibility. One thing I can tell you, I met a young woman who's still in college, who's getting ready to graduate, and she actually said, but I'm worried about the ones coming in. At 22, she's already understanding at that granular level her responsibility to the people in her community. And that's inspiring to me. So I will always be trying to level that up. I will always trying to be like make my community bigger, be a bit more impactful in the print community, support more people, elevate more people, celebrate more people. And this is the day for that for sure, but it's also what happens tomorrow and the next day and the next day for us to all kind of, and again, I always think of this in terms of atomic habits, little tiny changes we make every day. Can you send one email thanking someone? Can you send one email inviting somebody for coffee or to ask a question or ask for that help? That's as much a part of being a community as offering the help.
I love that. Every ascent starts with the foundation. And when you take the time to define your vision, understand your strengths, and design a structure that supports your growth, you create stability for everything that comes next. So, one word in the chat: what will strengthen your foundation for what's next? Kelly?
I can't help but admit that I'm already starting to think about legacy phase, right? To me, the work that you do and that I do, it's not about us, right? It's about us. It's about the bigger us. And so when someone says to me, you change something about the way I am in the world, I I almost want to go, my work here is done. Like, oh, like that is so meaningful to me. But that's also because I'm a words of affirmation person, right? There is nothing more you can do for me than shower me with those kinds of things. But when you know that the work that you're doing has impact, and I don't care where you are in your career, this is true. Every coworker you support, every kind word, every bit of support you offer to a customer, a vendor, a competitor for that matter, anybody in this industry, it has impact. And so we need to kind of step into that a little bit more, recognize it and celebrate it, that we are not alone. Nobody is alone. Even if you're operating an independent, one person shop, you now have 12,000 people at your back, and it's going to be way more next year, and it's going to be bigger and better and greater. So this feels very much like a jumping off point to me of, even though we've been doing this work since 2009, You mentioned game changer. To me, this moment is to take it to a whole new level.
Kelly mentioned the yin yang of us. So Kelly just gave you an emotional answer. At least I say that that perspective is coming from feelings.
Mhm.
I'm going to provide a tactical thing. What will strengthen your foundation for next? What's next? Understanding AI. I think that it is literally something that could level the playing field for the workforce because if you have those skills, they are desired now, and nobody's going to care, or they shouldn't care as much about who's standing in front of them. It's what they could produce. Now, will you get paid the same as a guy? I don't know that, but you fight for what you deserve, and that's what we're going to be talking about for the rest of the day. Kelly, we are going to get ready for the next session, which is with Pat McGrew in just a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.